afternoon, everyone. I'm Knox Henderson, Investor Relations for Great Bear Resources. And today we're showing the 5th edition of Q&A with Chris Taylor. With me, of course, is the President and CEO of Great Bear, Chris Taylor. How you doing, Chris?
Doing good, Knox. How are you?
Very good. Great day today. We put out some news with about 10 holes. I think everybody's very excited about the results. The good news is with more high grade running right to surface, filling in some gaps, showing good continuity. So the real star was that BR118. So maybe talk a bit about that.
Yeah, maybe what I'll do, if we can do it here, is pop some stuff up on the screen. How's that sound?
Sure. While you're doing that, I'll also mention that we're going to keep doing these Q&As moving forward. People seem to like them and kind of emphasizes the key points of our news. So still talking and delaying, but Chris's screen is up now. Okay, there you go.
Great. So this was really the crux of the release here. So you can see every time we put out an updated long section, which is what's up on the screen, we highlight the new or some of the new results in yellow. We can't fit everything in, but that hole 118 is there, kind of in the middle of the area that we're drilling, this 4 or 5 kilometer long area. So you can see that some of the results there, multiple zones per drill hole. It was 10 grams over 6.8 meters and 18 grams over 13 meters, but that's within an interval that comes right from surface of, I guess the big interval was, there was 2. One of them was about 50 odd meters of over 3 grams, and the other one was about 100 meters of about 2.6, 2.7 grams. So pretty impressive to see that kind of stuff near surface. But more important is the continuity along this section. And you can see as we fill it in, we're getting more and more evidence all the time that it's a big continuous zone that we're dealing with. And you can see, like on the left side of the image there, you can see that there's parts of it we just haven't done very dense drilling on. And then, of course, the rest of it we've been filling in more aggressively. So this whole panel will be drilled off on about 75 meter spaced drill holes. That's both laterally and vertically by the end of the year. So it just shows.
Yeah, we still have a lot of drilling to go. I mean, this is a 300 drill hole program. We've done about 100 of these holes, and this is for a 200,000 meter program. So with a lot of drilling to go, we should have a lot of that spacing filled in moving forward.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, the target is so large, even then you're only going to have drilled it down to about 500 meters. And if you're looking at the page in front of you, sort of a normal mining depth of something like this, if you look at other deposits in Ontario, if you look at the big rectangular boxes, each one of those is 1 kilometer long and half a kilometer deep, basically. But if you look at that, it would be like 3 of those boxes would be required vertically to drill off something like, 3 to 4. A normal kind of mining depth for this type of orogenic gold system. So you can see we're literally just scratching the surface with this.
And with the whole, COVID protocol, we still got, 3 rigs going at any given time. And so that's the good news, that we can just keep going at it here.
Yeah, 3 rigs out of, we had 5, now we're down to 3, but even with 3, we'll still be on track to finish that 300 holes by the end of the calendar year. So the other, just moving along to the next page. This was in our release today as well, and this talks to the continuity of mineralization that we're seeing along the LP fault, which has really been exceptional. So this shows you between the 3 sections, 150 meters of strike length, and you can see that basically same zone, same rocks, and same mineralization section to section to section. So the highlight one is from today's release is section 20650. And you can see the section numbers, each one of those, it's like if you drew a line along the mineralized system, each one of those numbers represents a meter. So when you're reading these in the future, 2750 is 100 meters further along than 2650, which is 50 meters further along than 2600. And so it makes it easy to figure out where you are in the thing. And what it does is shows you on this section that, again, read some of the numbers, like on 2600, right from surface there, you have 16 grams over 6 meters. And you've got another like 5.6 grams over 25 meters, or at the surface there, 10.3 grams over 18 meters. Then move along, 50 meters away, it's same zone. You can see what we put out today, same kind of numbers, like 10 grams over 6.8, 18 grams over 13, and then move along to the section, the next one to the north of that, and you can see here, 10 grams over 21 meters, for instance, and you can see a pattern when you look at the data that generally, like we see at the LP fault, it's generally getting wider and higher grade as it goes to depth. You can see that on these sections as well. We also included in the middle one, in case people are curious, how the grade hangs together through the reported intervals. So you can see on the right of section 2650, everything from 40 meters to 81 meters, and you can see it's continuously mineralized. And you can see the variation, the internal variation in grade. I think it's really exceptional given that that's right at the bedrock surface. I mean, your average grade for sort of a bulk tonnage deposit in the world now would be sub-gram if you were pulling it out from this shallow, and you're looking at multi-gram material, high-grade material, basically right from surface. And down below that, the other interval there, you can see that as well. It's just got that consistent grade, and that's what's really impressive here. And what you see going to the next section is really what makes it's quite interesting looking at it. So these sections are the same geology. You can see that based on the color coding, exactly the same geology over kilometers of strike length. So here are just example sections from 22375 is where we made the original, we call it the Berrerini discovery. You can see what the grade looks like there and the distributions. Then you can go 1.2 kilometers away into what we used to call the gap area, and you can see the grade distributions from there. Again, high grade zones over 2 meters, sometimes 6 meters, 7 meters, surrounded by these low grade or to mid grade halos, the wider mineralization, like 45 meters of a gram, that kind of stuff. I believe between those two sections, there's a spot, I remember off the top of my head, there's about 125 meters of a gram. So then over to the next section, 2.4 kilometer gap. I mean, you'd be jumping across the sections from the previous page within. But you can see, down to the southeast, section 18750, we've only got one hole in that. We used to call it the Vigo area. Now we know it's just that southeastern portion of this area. So 7 grams over 3.5 meters, including, a couple grams over 15 meters. You can see the zone will basically get skinnier as it goes out towards the margin and fatter in the middle, but it's the same rocks and the same mineralization that we see along that whole strike length.
Yeah, and the way that we're reporting this, for people reading our news releases, that I'm going to use my arm as the LP fault. You're looking at these sections crossing the LP fault, and they're numbered, and you can look at the correlation on the number on the plan map. Looking over from space to the individual sections to see how the mineralization unfolds.
Yeah, that's right. And then, what gets us excited, if I go to the next slide I have here, if you can see it, is this is what the numbers look like when you break it down by intervals within, so these are great holes from the LP fault. So you can see in the red, I've got highlighted where you get the core high-grade mineralization, and then multiple intervals of mineralization around that. Some of them are really wide, mid to low grades, like 53 meters of 4 grams, for instance. Sometimes you get intervals like today, 100 meters of 2.5 grams, 2.7 grams, that kind of stuff.
Great for bulk tonnage type of mining, those kind of.
Yeah, but also the high grade and those kind of thicknesses and grades of mineralization. You could hold them side to side with the best stuff, in Red Lake that other people are looking at, and they would still, this hangs together nicely and is, nice and consistent high grade gold. So, and sometimes multiple zones per section. So I think those would have, significant lateral and vertical extent from what we're seeing so far. And those could be excellent underground targets going forward, in the future as we continue to drill this thing.
And then, meanwhile, on the hinge and limb, I don't know if you want to get to that yet. Actually, yeah. You have the hinge zone right there. So maybe, tell us a bit what's going on in the hinge and limb zone. It's a slightly different style of mineralization, steeply dipping quartz veins. What are we doing on that area now?
The hinge and the limb, I mean, we've done some dense drilling into these things, generally at 15 to 25 meter spacing. So if you were thinking about resource calculation, that's obviously tighter than you would need to do on something like the LP fault, which is sheet-like. Here at the hinge and limb, you have a Red Lake style vein system, so you need to drill it a little bit more dense. But you can still see we have great numbers here. And that means, like, going forward into the future, there will be follow-up work on these zones through 2020 2020. So I would imagine you'd see some additional results on that side, at some point in the future as well. But you can see, looking at what you have up on the screen, great numbers. And I'll flip over to the next slide as well. You can see, again, great numbers in the Hinge zone as well. The Dixie Limb, if I had more room for slides, I could show you even more sections there.
Well, we don't have a lot of time either, Chris, so we
should exactly. I'll leave
wrap this up pretty quick here.
Yep. Yeah, I'll leave it at that, Knox. But that was the theme today. We just wanted to show people with the news release that we have great looking continuity in the areas that we're drilling, and obviously exceptional intervals of gold mineralization right from the bedrock surface.
Great. Well, thanks, Chris, and thanks, everybody. And yeah, if you want to get hold of us, you could email me at info@greatbearresources.ca, or our numbers on the end of the news releases, and we're happy to, contact people directly and give you these updates moving forward. So thanks again, and have a good day.
Thanks, Knox.